Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the conversation on TOS Television Network, your digital first Pan-African news network. Reaching you from here in Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital city. I am Adesuwa Osuyi.
And I am Merciful Ajinamo. Good morning,
Good morning,
Adesuwa.
Merciful.
Good morning. Good. How are you?
It's good to see you again.
Good. Yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm in. Looking all Tuesday-ish.
I don't know what that means, but okay. All right. Before we kickstart the show proper, we'll be bringing you the quote of the day. Pablo Picasso there, with some nuggets. Action is the foundation of our success. So basically, you could have ideas, but if you don't implement them, if you don't take action, if you don't do anything, you're not going to, be successful at it. So don't just sit still and say, I have brilliant ideas. You have to take action. You have to do things, take steps, to achieve your goal. I want to hear Merciful's take on this one.
Yeah, action is everything. It's one thing to, conceptualize what you're doing. It's another thing to take action. So everything, it's nothing if you don't take an action, if you don't take a step towards achieving it. So I think, I really do understand where you're coming from.
So Pablo Picasso is spot on.
Yes, spot on.
All right, we move straight into development across Africa. Starting from Somalia, where the former president of Somali, Hassan Sheikh, has on Twitter accused his successor, President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, of orchestrating an attack by soldiers on his home on Sunday. TOS News guarded that the accusation, however, is without proof. In his tweet, he noted that a warning has been sent to Farmajo and reiterated the dangers of politicizing security. However, the Internal Security Minister, Hassan Handube, has denied the allegation that the government had raided the former president's home. Chad Military Council vows not to negotiate with rebel groups.
Wow. So I think it's something that we really need to get more information on. We've been having this story on the front burner for a long time now.
Yes.
And let's just see how it turns out, yeah?
But the thing with security in Africa is there's always a side to it where people always come up to say we think it's politically manipulated. There's a lot of political undertone to it. So somebody doesn't like what's going on, it causes some unrest in the country, so that probably people can see that this other leader or something is not capable of leading all of that stuff. In as much as I hate to see that in Africa, a lot of times we tend to, take security, people's lives, and just play around with it for personal gains and all of that stuff. Even though this is like, without proof or something like that, but we've seen cases like that happen over time, in like lots of African countries. And I just hope that African leaders get to the point where they start to see that, look, leadership is not personal. You're there to serve people. People's interests should be first. So whether you're there or not, wherever you are, you can lead from wherever you are. You don't have to be the president or something to actually, do stuff.
We really hope we get to that stage soon. Yeah. All right, and moving on, talking about South African analysts warning against more strike. The economic analyst in South Africa has warned against the looming strike season, stating that in the long run it could have a lasting effect on the public sector and thwart South Africa's expected economic recovery this year. The managing director, NFB Private Wealth Management, Andrew Dovenage, said the strike season might stand as a big risk to confidence of investors and plunge this year into a worse situation than previous years. It says our recovery is fragile and lower than the rest of the world. We cannot now afford to have economic activity halted again, but the continuous capitalization to unions will continue seeing the cost going up as wage bill rises above inflation. The government has to make tough decisions whether political considerations of unions are above the country's, he said.
Yeah, it's similar to what we see in Nigeria and what we've been talking about, that look, in as much as your plea or your demands are valid, but it has a reverse impact on the economy, on the people itself, because you have activities shut down, you have a lot of things shut down,
and things are not moving.
Really. So the country is going to be at loss anyways, and I think that South Africa's government is realizing that and saying that, look, we do understand what's going on, but we cannot afford, the regular incessant strike action. So we have to look at other means. And the onus also falls on the government to now begin to implement, say, negotiate with whoever, the unions, the organizations, and then just negotiate with them and say that, look, you don't have to go on strike to have stuff done.
True.
And I hope Nigeria gets to that point.
And learn from it.
Okay, moving away from there to Chad, where, the military council has vowed not to negotiate with rebel group. Transitional military government in Chad has said it will not negotiate with the rebels responsible for death of the country's president, Idris Deby. In a televised statement, the military spokesman, General Azim Bemandoa Aguma, said the rebels, known by their French acronym FACT, were seeking to collaborate with several groups of jihadists and traffickers who served as mercenaries in Libya. He added that this is not the time for mediation or negotiation with outlaws. What do you think about that one?
I really think from what the Chad military is saying, that they have not negotiated. It's what some West African countries have said. They do not negotiate.
Even here in Nigeria, Kaduna State Governor said
So we're saying, if this can be a thing where you prioritize security in the country and you're putting all the energy you have towards solving it, negotiating cannot be an alternative. It shouldn't be on the table. Because if you're negotiating with bandits, it means you're telling them you're not capable of solving the matter.
Yes, exactly.
So it's even breeds room for more banditry, more kidnappings and everything.
It's like they know they have you in their palms. So
you can always say, all right, let's negotiate. And I think if we're doing everything that we can, and this thing is being solved, there'll be no need for negotiation.
Yes, but there also has to be measures put in place to ensure that, the lives and whoever, maybe the kidnapped victims and all of that stuff, their lives are secured at that point. Because if you're saying you're not negotiating with terrorists, or bandits, you're putting lots of lives at risk. So you have to have had measures put in place, strategies and all of that to ensure that whatever happens, you're at the top of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
I think that's what it is.
All right, moving over to Nigeria here, that's in Benue State, Makurdi, and unknown gunmen on Monday abducted 3 students of University of Agriculture, Makurdi. While confirming the abduction in Makurdi's police spokesperson Anene Suwese said the gunmen struck at about 10:20 p.m. and kidnapped the students studying close to a lecture theater. And he said, we have received that information, we are on it, and I know that we are very close. She said, my advice is that the members of the Republic remain calm. We are doing our best to make sure that we get to the root of this and apprehend perpetrators of this crime. I really do hope so.
I really do hope so, because this is becoming really scary. They're going from just, regular invasion of
innocent
to just innocent
students,
people,
young people, children.
And yes, exactly. Now they're going to tertiary institutions. They're going to, it begs the question of, what do these people actually want? What are they actually after? We don't even know, because it's like you cannot say, okay, we know their tactics now, we know their strategy now. They're going to maybe invade a school in the north, in your primary school, and just abduct students. Today you hear that they invaded a school, tomorrow it's a park, the next tomorrow it's a university, tomorrow it's a medical personnel, and it's just going back and forth with it. And
before now I was of the opinion that they're just trying to get money, trying to make money, because the kidnappings, the kidnappers, they kidnap these people and ask for ransom. But sometimes we're not seeing that kind of case. It's different cases. They're abducting some, they're killing some, and innocents are losing their lives. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want? Are you trying to cause just anarchy or something like, what is the root cause of all of this?
Exactly. So you don't really know. So I think it's about time the government step up, their games, because you can't see them coming. It's like, we can't see these people coming, so they shouldn't even see you coming as well. I think it's undermining the capacity and the capability of the government to actually do something about it. So it has gotten to the point where we need to just stop sitting and say, okay, we're strategizing. We need to start doing something, get to work. They shouldn't see you coming. They shouldn't even know what you're doing.
Well, safety of lives and property is priority.
It's top university students who went to study, imagine that. That's terrifying. But we do hope, like they said, they're going to get to the root of it, and then this, students are rescued just in time. Okay, having said all of that, we're going to go on a break now, and then we'll be bringing you COVID-19 updates from across Africa. Well, that update was collated or gathered by the African Center for Disease Control. Wow, over 4.5 million active cases and over 120,000 deaths. You should know at this point that I'm not happy about the numbers. I mean, you also know that the numbers are not encouraging. So we need to keep doing something. I know we're doing our part. I mean, over 45 million people have already been tested. So people actually want to know, their COVID-19 status and probably get vaccinated. That's encouraging, And then I think in Nigeria, over 1 million people have already gotten vaccinated, which is, really good. But we still need to do more. We cannot just sit still and say, I think a number of persons feel like COVID is not as deadly, so we don't need to actually do anything about it. But countries are experiencing a third wave, and which is more deadlier than the second wave. So you need to do something about it. We cannot afford the third wave in Africa. I think most people should tell them this time.
Yeah, we cannot. We cannot afford the third wave in Africa. We've seen some countries, they have undergone the third wave, and it's not funny.
It's not.
We did even the first and the second wave. It is not even funny. So we get into a third wave is something that we cannot think of. So I think you just do what you can. Keep wearing your face mask. Keep being socially distanced from your neighbor. Protect yourself and protect your neighbor. This thing is real.
It
may not have affected you or your family, but it's actually real, and we can tell you for free. So please do what you can to make sure that you are safe and the society is safe as well.
All right, having said that, we're going to break now. When we come back, it's a bit time to take you through what the dailies are saying this Tuesday morning.
North to South Africa. East to West Africa. TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Watch us on television, Channel 1.
Welcome back to the conversation showing on your digital first Pan-African news network. You can always be a part of the show by following us across all our social media platforms, and the handle is at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And you can also subscribe on YouTube platform so you can get all of the amazing content that we have for you. And don't forget, you can also live stream the program on our website www.tostvnetwork.com. It's that time of the show where we'll bring you the newspaper review segment and topics, from Nigeria's national dailies for this morning. The first one for this morning is Blueprint, and we'll begin from the very top. That is NICOM FFS to enforce compulsory public buildings liability insurance. And that can be found on page 23 of the Blueprint newspaper. Just underneath that story, we see Nigeria businesses lose $229 billion annually to poor electricity, and that's on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. Underneath the tag there is COVID-19 hesitancy is still strong as federal government vaccinates 1.2 million Nigerians. We have two riders underneath that story. The first is warns against fake vaccine circulation, and the second set to reopen Enugu Port Harcourt Airport. We see John Spentami on service record APC forum tells critics. And that particular story can be found on page 15 of the Blueprint newspaper. The very conspicuous headline here is Governor Sani Bello raises red alert. Boko Haram, 2 hours from Abuja, hoist flag in Niger. And we have a couple of riders underneath that story. Occupies 50 Shiroro Monia villages, towns. Gunmen abduct 5 Makudi Agri-University students. killed 2 more Kaduna students, 9 in Anambra attack. And that can be found on page 7. 2 women, children kidnapped in Zaria, 9 in Oyo. And the last right on that story is troops repel attack on Mainok, kills cause, lose officers, 6 others. That can be found on page 8. And all of that story can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. Underneath the picture of the day there, we see Nigeria's insecurity real, coming from APC. And the writer underneath that story says, College of Bishops seeks IPOD, Ebubeagu collaboration. And that can be found on page 5. Withdraw mass sack, create jobs. Aremu urges Erufai, the governor of Kaduna State. And to get the details of that, you can grab it on page 14. JAMB registers over 300,000 for UTME, 8,000 for direct entry. Then federal government states under pressure as IGR shrinks to 1.3 trillion naira. And that's the internal generated revenue that can be found on page 23 of the Blueprint newspaper. The last headline for this paper this morning is talking about appointment. Senate tasks Buhari on merit, federal character. All of the stories can be found on the Blueprint newspaper for this morning. Moving away from the Blueprint to the Daily Trust newspaper, starting from the very top as well. And the first one is on COVID-19. It says, federal government mills travel restrictions on India, Brazil, and Turkey. Federal government plans new electricity tariff hike. And then the very major headline on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says, how fighter jet Boko Haram killed 33 soldiers in Mainok. Officers, 6 others killed. That's coming from the army. Troops finally enter Gate Dam. Insurgents totally occupied our villages. And Buhari's achievements meaningless without security. That's coming from the APC. And then just beside the picture of the day there, fresh crisis rocks PDP. Secondus accused of 10 billion naira fraud. Nigeria yet to fulfill 15% health budget allocation 2 decades after. That's a report. Insecurity. U.S. Secretary of State meets Buhari today. And then underneath the picture of the day, gunmen killed 40 in Anambra, Imo, Kebbi, Rivers. The first rider on that headline says 4 soldiers, 14 policemen, 19 herders among victims. And then the last rider under that one, Boko Haram sacks 50 villages, hoist flag in Niger. That's coming from the governor. All of these are inside the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. All right, move over to the Daily Times newspaper. On the very top is U.S. Secretary of State meets Buhari on Yema today. And then the very gaping headline there is soldiers, varsity students, others slain as terrorist guerrilla strike in North and East. And that can be found on page 2 of the Daily Times. And just under the picture of the day where we see replicated across all of the social national dailies this morning. The first story there is insecurity. Boko Haram hoist flag occupies over 50 communities in Niger State. And that can be found on page 5. Talking about legislature, ignoring federal character principle in appointment, hitting up polity. And that's coming from the Senate. It can be found on page 3. And talking about malaria, WHO health experts hail Oxford malaria vaccine. And that can be found on page 3 of the Daily Times.
Moving straight to the Nigerian News Direct. Lagos Port government agencies frustrating NPA call-up system. And on insecurity, Buhari meets Gbajabiamila to meet U.S. Secretary of State on Tuesday, that's today. Sylvia wins Gas Decade Personality Award. And then to the very major headline on the Nigerian News Direct this morning. Tension as bandits kill another 2 Greenfield students. Shoot commissioner, kill 5 policemen in Imo State. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct. And then just underneath the picture of the day, on terrorism fight, Interior Minister assures of collaboration with presidential think tank on defense security. That's also on page 3. AGF Idris reaffirms federal government's commitments to financial reforms and transparency. And then the last headline on the Nigerian News Direct this morning says, NAF investigates alleged unconfirmed report of airstrike accident. And that story is on page 21 of the Nigerian News Direct.
And over to the very last headline of newspaper for this morning is the business day. And as always, you can always monitor the market from the top of the newspaper on the front page. The very gaping headline there says, banking in Nigeria, 45 million customers up for grabs. And then the writer underneath that story says, only 1.8 million customers have access to credit. And that can be found on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper. And then we see Lagos power market seeks to make data generations unnecessary. All of these stories can be found on the Business Day newspaper. We see across all of these national dailies that we've read this morning, the issue of insecurity happens to be
replicated across everyone.
I mean, like, it's getting to a point where we are asking, what is really being done? What is changing? We see as if it's just on the graph, it's just scaling upwards. It's getting worse every day. 50 communities. How many communities does Niger State have? That's the question you have to ask.
That's the thing. First. Like, when I first said that, it was like, oh wow, they have set up shop just 2 hours from the federal capital city. Niger State is just 2 hours away from the capital city, where the president is at. And they've set up shop and taken over 50 communities in Niger State. What does that tell?
Nigerians have so much questions. They have so much to say when it comes to this issue of insecurity. You know, we had the cabinet change at some point. We had the IGP change at some point. We spoke about different measures being put in place.
Even the service chief.
The tactics, yes. The tactics, the strategies, you know, bringing foreign intelligence over. And still, coupled with the fact that we're talking about inflation, which, of course, insecurity is one of the reasons why we're having
major reasons, even.
Yeah. And then, like, it's as if all that is being done, if anything is being done, it's not working. That's the question we'll begin to ask.
It's just damning. Having to come here every day and then just read all of this. Students were kidnapped just last week, and then I think 3 of them were killed. 2 of them have been killed again. I don't know what message the bandits are trying to pass across, you know. But we just hope, like, I think all we can do at this point is just hope that something is done. Because if they are overtaking 50 communities in Niger State, which is just 2 hours away from where we are, the seat of government in Nigeria, it's pretty scary, and it just says a lot about how bold these people are getting. They're getting
and they're planting
bolder.
Their flags.
Yes, exactly. So when you know, planting your flag means this is your territory. You're overtaking, you're overtaking that territory, and it's scary. Like I said,
very scary. I must say,
it's scary. But I just do hope that something is done. I mean, the president is meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State today, and we're hoping to see what comes out of that meeting, and then we're hoping whatever comes out of that meeting is going to, help us fight insecurity. Because at this point, I don't think Nigeria can do it alone.
No.
We can't do it.
We need all the help we can get.
We need all the help we can get.
All of the help we can get is what we need at this
point. I'm telling you, from foreign, from foreign or international intelligence to partnerships, whatever, using technology, whatever that we can use needs to be deployed at this point.
Because it's a solution.
I tell you, I'm really scared at this point, honestly.
All right, that's the most you can take on the newspaper review segment of the show this morning. We'll go on a break now. When we return, a day's while, we'll be taking you through what is trending on social media.
Welcome back. It's about that time where I take you through what is trending on social media, what has been trending on social media in the last 24 hours. But as always, before I get into that part, remember that you can also be a part of the community. You can drop your comments, be part of the conversation. Just stream live on www.tostvnetwork.com. And you can also just follow us across all social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at TOS TV Network. And also subscribe to TOS TV Network on YouTube so you do not miss out on anything. I wouldn't want you to be left behind, so you have to subscribe, okay? All right, moving back into, what has been trending on social media. Now, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, has been trending on social media in the last 24 hours. And that is basically largely because of the, insecurity issue, that the heightening insecurity issue in the country. I mean, if you've followed us through the show, you've heard us talk about, you know, the incessant rise in the issue of insecurity, banditry, kidnappings, Boko Haram setting up shop in Niger State, you know, all of that, and Nigerians has got Nigerians talking on social media. And I'm going to read out a few, you know, tweets to that regard here for you. The first one is from at First Ladyship, and she says, Saraki, Obasanjo, Atiku, Dogara. Just a reminder that these were PDP henchmen who decamped to APC in 2015 and worked assiduously against Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. Whatever you do, do not absolve them of complicity in the Buhari disastrous regime, I beg your pardon. Let history record this. And then the next is from Sadiq Tade. Miyati Allah once threatened the unity of this country on Channels TV, and the clowning NBC didn't say a thing. The same NBC is now pretending to be proactive by suspending the same TV for interviewing IPOB. This is all you need to know about today's Nigeria under Buhari. And then the next one is from at Concerned Nigerians. We are calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to resign now. Enough is enough. Lives are being lost every day. Economy is in shambles. Our unity is being threatened. And then the last one is from at daddy_numso, and it says, today alone, armed forces accidentally shoot down soldiers, people hacked to death at Ibariam. Bandits killed 2 of the kidnapped Green University students. Criminals try to invade LASU and destroy cars. NBC bans Channels TV for interviewing a pro-IPOB leader. Buhari is working.
And that's a very sarcastic comment there. And I'm seeing some people asking, you know, this is not the first time we've seen some trends on Twitter for asking the president of the country to resign. And I really do think that you can't really blame these Nigerians, people that are saying, look, we're tired and everything. Yes, I know there's so much work to be done. I know there are people that were voted in power to do all of this, because that's why we're changing government. The reason why we keep doing elections is get a new person, do something different, let there be development. But it's looking as if as the times are changing, the issue is getting worse. Because we had people come on the show and we compared statistics in terms of employment, in terms of development of the country, in terms of fuel price, everything.
It's deteriorating at this point.
It's changing. So if I'm seeing Nigerians coming up on Twitter and saying, look, I think it's time for Buhari to resign, I will not blame them. Yes,
true that. It's because personally, I don't think we've had it bad, and I don't know, since I've been able to, you know, monitor what's happening in the country, be sensible enough to actually know what's happening. I don't think we've had it this bad. Well, every day, I think there's no day that you come or you wake up and then you read through the news and you did not hear one issue of insecurity in the country. At least one person gets killed every day. Do you know what that spells for us Nigerians? It's like, you're not even safe in your country. You can't even go out. You can't even plan that you're traveling. You don't know what's going to happen next. Before, they will tell you, oh, don't go to the north because it's risky to go to the north at this point. But it's over there in the east now as well. It's over there in the west. It's everywhere. You can't. I don't know if I'm taking this personally, but it's really,
it's personal for everyone. It's personal for anyone that calls himself a Nigerian. You can't be in a country where you call a country your own and you're not safe. You don't feel safe, and people are being killed on a daily. Like, security is something that I think we're not supposed to be talking about for far too long. It's something that's supposed to be settled so we can focus on other things. But now it's looking and see everything is surrounding. You know, we spoke about even this story that's trending, the NBC ban, and the other tweet, you know, it raised the concern that you know, they had Mieti Allah come on the show, spoke everything and said, look, it's a group, it's what people should not be very careful and everything. And now we have and you know, people are asking for different things on a daily, so and it's all surrounding around the leaders. What is being done is the question. In as much
as we might want to blame the president of the country, because I mean, he's the commander in chief.
Yeah, he's the commander in chief.
So it's his decision. But then again, he has put people in place to do all of these things, right? We have the service chiefs, the different, you know, chief of army staff, chief of defense staff. We have all of those people. We have security personnel. We have intelligence personnel in the country. What are they doing, or what are they not doing? I don't know what we should be asking now. Is it what they're doing or what they're not doing? Because it's as though They come and say we've been doing stuff, we're importing arm, we're, you know, doing this, we're strategizing, we're partnering with people. It seems as though they're doing stuff, but we're not seeing results, we're not seeing anything. So I think the question should be, what are we not doing? What are they not doing right? Because at this point, we cannot just fold our hands and say, oh, they got it under control, we're just going to see what's coming up or what's going to come out of it. We can't do that at this point. So I think everybody just needs to play their part. I mean, I even don't know what ordinary Nigerians can do.
I think they can do only what they can do. Like some people said on Twitter, like you just keep praying and hoping.
Exactly.
Because that's the only thing you can do. Because you cannot control what you cannot control.
Yeah.
If it's within your control, if it was within our control, like look, we don't want to be here with this abracadabra and everything, everybody will leave.
Yeah.
Because you can't be in a place where you're not sure whether you're going to breathe next, or the money you're being paid, you can't spend it well or something. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I do get you.
So it's only hope and prayers that the average Nigerian can do. We will keep doing our part to make sure we keep telling people what is going on, and everybody's doing their part. Yeah. And look, we just
and those in authority also have to do their part, and they have to be proactive with it too. Because we cannot just sit down and say we're doing something. Proactiveness, you have to be prompt to do whatever it is that we're doing. Because, like somebody came on the show and said, the country is almost collapsing, and we cannot even allow that happen at this point. We cannot afford that. Okay, that's so much on what's trending on social media. Okay, that's the most we can take on what's trending on social media in the last 24 hours. We're going to go on a break now, and then when we come back, we'll be taking you on the big story. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks for staying on the conversation, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. It's that time I will bring you the crux of the show, and that is the big story. The governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has signed a new law mandating agencies like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, and other anti-graft agencies to hand over corruption cases to the state government. Now, according to the legislation titled Lagos State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission Law, a new anti-corruption agency will have the exclusive right to investigate financial crimes and corruption cases involving the finances of the Lagos State government. The legislation also posits that the Commission shall have the power to exclude any agency or body to investigate and coordinate the investigation of corruption and financial crimes cases involving the finances and assets of the state government. With the establishment of this new state anti-graft body, critics are of the opinion that the decision of the government was a deliberate one, geared towards shielding 3 former Lagos governors, including the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, others, and among others who are currently under investigation by the anti-graft bodies. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss all of this is Ariodare Ayotoye, the director Adopt a Goal Initiative. Good morning. You're welcome to the show this morning.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
You're good. You're welcome. First of all, what is your opinion on the decision of the Lagos State government to create its own anti-graft agency?
First and foremost, we have to put it in context because of the sheer blackmail that is currently coming from some quarters, that those of us who have a different view about this new law probably don't want to agree with what we've been preaching about restructuring, about the fact that Nigeria is a federal state, and with the subnational or the autonomous state having the right, to be able to make this kind of laws for themselves. However, we have to state unequivocally that this law is subservient and it's meant to protect personal interests. And the reasons are very clear. What we are asking for in terms of restructuring is an wholesale intervention for us, to properly practice fiscal federalism and for us to have a federal state. What we are seeing currently that is playing out is that some members of the ruling elites, especially led by some of the governors, and it's not limited to them, is they are picking and choosing from probably the American version of federalism that we borrowed our presidential system after. They seem to be looking for what will please them and help their interests, and that is after they've realized that probably they've lost grounds or their stronghold in terms of controlling certain institutions of government. A practical example is this: from the day of Nuhu Ribadu, and I say this with every sense of responsibility, from the days of Nuhu Ribadu up to the last day of Magu, the Lagos political group led by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had been in control, directly or indirectly, of the EFCC, either by way of friendship or by way of support. But as 2023 beckons, we have some, because it's good for people of Nigeria to understand this in context and the direct political implication of what is playing out. The EFCC is now currently under a new pharaoh, and a pharaoh that did not know or willing to know the Joseph of yesterday. So now that we have a new pharaoh in charge, or a new sheriff, as some people would like to call it, who does not agree or know body law. Therefore, Bodilon has to look for a way how to protect its own future, because 2023 is approaching. It is for convenience sake that they decided to include Ambode, that people reported that it will cover Ambode and Fashola. But largely it's a 2023 driven law in order to protect the interests of the former governor of the state who is contesting or likely to contest for president in 2023.
Okay.
So it's a law that is clearly self-subservient, that is clearly self-serving and subservient to political interest.
Okay, so going by that statement that you made, so you're also of the opinion that the law can be used as a weapon to, protect certain interests of the government of Lagos State and attack others?
Yeah, I will give you a practical example. Look at the State Independent Electoral Commission, SIEC. SIEC, under various governors, has failed to perform or conduct credible elections in any of the states of the Federation. There is no institution under an unrestructured system that we have now that you will put under the control of the state government that they will not in a way undermine it. Because what we have at the subnational is more or less like an emperor system of government. It's a total control of power. They control the House of Assembly and they control everything, including the courts. Now, the only institution that probably has been a sort of a reprieve for people is the fact that we have an EFCC that is not under the control of the governors and will always be there to probably say that they will be accountable to their, based on whatever they've done in the office. But I am not saying that the EFCC itself doesn't have its own problem and challenges, simply because we know that even the ruling party at the center does have some form of influence and control over the EFCC. But marginally speaking, comparatively, it is still better for the EFCC to have this kind of oversight investigation of governance. And now when we come to the critical aspect of this issue, so the issue is not going to be between money coming from the federation accounts and internally generated revenue. This law created by the Lagos state government should have limited itself to IGR, internally generated revenue. Because I cannot understand why you want to get money from the federation accounts and you don't want EFCC, which is a federal agency, to have a control and oversight over money that is coming from the federation account. Even the United States of America, there used to be overlapping prosecution of offenders. You see the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and also state prosecutors prosecuting the same person. It's not really a problem, because one thing is that they want to ensure that justice is done. They want to ensure that if anybody is a criminal, that person is appropriately prosecuted.
All right. Do you think
instead of the law of this Lagos state government to absolutely or totally bar any other agency like EFCC from investigating officers of the state government, it should be playing more or less like a complementary role. It shouldn't, if they are really serious and sincere about fighting corruption, it should be complementary, not to usurp the role of the EFCC and said no any other agency can investigate. You see, coming under the guise of restructuring, federalism, and all of that is a way of trying to, just dribble everybody and make it seem as if they are real proponents of restructuring. In the last 6 years, have they talked about restructuring in practical terms? So it is a law that is created to, pander to the interest and possibly take over all prosecutions and keep them in abeyance and probably snuff life out of them. So it's more of a law that is done. It's not limited to Nigeria alone. We've seen it in different climes. Even in America, sometimes there used to be tussle in the Congress when some legislations and laws, or bills are proposed, and people see that this bill will definitely tend to undermine, the country. For instance, there is a bill that has passed in the U.S. Congress now for the creation of DC state. But that bill is likely to die in the Senate because the Democrats won't be able to muster probably the number, the 60 votes that is needed, to pass that bill. So also there is a law on the issue of election and all of that. So it's not limited to that. But at least they are a bit decent that this law is about group, institutions, and all of that. But here we are talking about a law that is more or less self-serving. And it's so clear to Nigerians. But unfortunately, we are not seeing reactions across the country because it's a system that is man-driven. Man-driven in the sense that that's the rule of man.
Talking about reactions, some people are of the opinion that creating a state anti-graft agency will give the state governor some sort of power. Do you agree on that postulation?
No, I don't get your question very well, but if I get it right, I am not saying that the state governors do not have the right to create an anti-graft agency. Okay. Of course they do. For instance, the local government is under the state. In a way, also, let's also look at the current agitation to scrap local government from the constitution and put it under the state. Now, one thing we must tell people who are doing all of this, who are doing choose and pick, Nigerians must understand where they are operating from. They are operating on the basis of the American system. That's the presidential system in America, the federalism system that American, practices. Now, people must understand that is where they are operating from. So what they are doing currently that we see in Nigeria is this. They only choose and pick what suits the interests of individual actors. But that was the essence of the national conference that we had in the past, so that we will stop this idea of cut and paste to serve certain interests. What we should have is an holistic intervention and let us know the kind of nation that we want to have, the kind of federalism that we want to practice. But just like we're talking about this issue of anti-graft commission or a new anti-graft law by the Lagos State, there are also people today in the National Assembly who are trying to delete the provision for the creation or whatever of local government. Now, what they're arguing is that under a federal system, the local government should be under the state. I have no problem with all of this. What I'm saying is that it should be holistic. It shouldn't be what serves the interests of the governors or from certain people. It should be what serves the interests of the people, the collectives. So that is the whole essence of what we're talking about. The governors have the power, or the state, through the House of Assembly, to create an anti-graft commission. At least the anti-graft commission will have a responsibility over the officials of the state, including the local government. Stealing, corruption can always happen either at the state level or at the local government. But what we are saying in the case of the EFCC is that this law shouldn't set out to bar the EFCC from investigating governors or former governors of Lagos State who have, one way or the other, utilized money coming from the Federation account. So the law can limit itself to hijack or complement the EFCC on investigating money coming from the Federation account. It should be complementary if we are serious about fighting crimes, economic crimes.
Okay, so having said all of this now, looking at both the almost negative aspect of it and also the positive aspect of it, how can we now check, or how can the anti-graft agency be checked to ensure that it doesn't go overboard?
First, I understand that sometimes there are excesses on the part of, for instance, EFCC. We've seen that in the past, especially by some previous chairman or chairperson of the EFCC, where they engage in sensationalism, public persecution rather than diligent prosecution. We've seen excesses on their part in terms of Gestapo approach, to fighting crimes rather than conducting watertight investigation before even arrest. So all of these are things that ordinarily we should be talking about in terms of reforming the EFCC and making it autonomous, independent, to be able to prosecute anybody. For instance, look at America, the DOJ, Department of Justice, and some of other agencies like FBI. They are independent in nature. They have, even though the president will appoint and confirmed by the Congress, by the Senate, but they have powers to even arrest officials of this government. Look at under the Trump administration, what the Trump administration suffered. Some of his cronies, some of his friends were arrested, prosecuted, investigated. That is the way it should be. That's why some people have been clamoring that we should separate the office of Attorney General from that of a Minister of Justice. It's the same thing in terms of EFCC. We must make the EFCC to be autonomous, to be independent of the influence of the executive. So this is the thing that we should be clamoring for. But what we have is a political class that is trying, to appropriate the instrument of law to serve personal interest. Now, we're also having a problem here. The problem we're having is that we're having an Attorney General who ordinarily should have proceeded to court or probably defend the interests of the country from a position of strength. But because he himself doesn't believe in restructuring, so it's going to be difficult for him to go to court to justify why that law cannot be, or to make a public statement. Because they are all working together trying to use the institution of the state to serve personal interests. Are they being their own contribution is altruistic, or what they are doing is an act of patriotism? I don't think they will have problem in trying to address this current concern.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo. It's been a pleasure having you on the show this morning. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we do hope we do this some other time. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for joining us on the conversation this morning. And don't forget, you can always be a part of it. And the conversation continues across all our social media platforms at TOS TV Network, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course on our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. And subscribing to our YouTube is necessary if you want to get all of our amazing content. Thank you for watching. I am Merciful Ajinamo.
My name is Adesu Elsie. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today.